Recording. No, I don't see.
You turn that on.
Oh, okay. All right, thanks. All right, so I'm just doing a mock-up of this meeting. So today I'm going to talk about schizophrenia. So you'll notice I keep looking to my right because I have another computer with my lecture on it. So if you want to follow along on the slides that I provided on Blackboard, it'll be from the slides. So before we begin, or before I begin, I just want to say hello to you. So sure, this is so hard, and you know, to miss a big chunk of spring semester and to be isolated, certainly at home. And you've got to know that my heart goes out to you, and I want you to do well in spite of everything that's happening. So as I go along, you know, I am new to all this in terms of teaching on Zoom. And I think as I become more comfortable, we could do some live sessions as long as that works for you. Otherwise, I'm really thinking of recording all the classes so that you have a chance to look at them when it works for you in terms of your schedule. And I probably would put some kind of deadline on that because I want you to keep up with what we're doing together. In terms of tests, we're looking at that. The dean's looking at that, and we're looking at different assignments, that can be helpful and fair with all of this happening. So I don't really have any specific instructions right now, but I'll come on again later and talk about some of the issues and some of the solutions and that we're looking at as a faculty. All right, so today I'm going to talk about schizophrenia, and again, look at your Blackboard, and also schizophrenia spectrum disorders. And you can see in slide 2, it's really fragmented, and you know it involves so many different parts of the brain, so many brain centers. Certainly we think that dopamine is probably in excess with schizophrenia. So there's all this activity going on. So schizophrenia is different than what we would say psychosis is, because you know we've talked about somebody being really depressed and becoming psychotic. We've talked about somebody with bipolar disorder, especially bipolar 1, who a marker of that is psychosis. So schizophrenia is really a separate syndrome. It certainly includes psychosis, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but it's a very chronic and severe kind of mental illness. It's probably one of the most dramatic of the mental illnesses because people can live in a state of being delusional and psychotic. And a lot of people who have this don't have the insight or the judgment to even recognize that they're ill. So what happens is people don't always stay on their meds or follow through with treatment. And yet it's been shown that people who stay in treatment and do take their meds can have successful lives and manage the illness. So it affects thoughts, emotions, behaviors, loss of touch with reality, difficulty thinking, speaking, disorganized. I mean, it really involves all the realms of behavior that we have as humans. And Often there's paranoia that accompanies schizophrenia. That's probably one of the most remarkable pieces. We've talked about this in terms of people being unsafe, that people can be very paranoid. And for that reason, some of their behaviors will reflect that. So schizophrenia, there's some descriptors that go along with it. It's frightening, has positive, negative symptoms. It's a faulty perception of the world. It's a withdrawal from reality. It can include fantasy and delusions. And really, the whole process of thought and judgment, and prioritizing, and setting some space between reactions is quite fragmented. And that is certainly reflected in that second slide I showed you, which is a visual and fragmentation of the brain. All right, I'm going to stop here because I want to make sure that this is working. Okay. All right.